Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Pints and Quarts, a show brought to you by the Craft Beer Nation. It is Thursday, April 6th, 2017, and tonight we have a local brewery from me that I'm excited to talk to. I've had some of the beer, I've had some of the food, and I've been nothing but pleasantly pleased. Tonight, our guest is Jake from Crooked Run Brewing in Sterling, Virginia. They just opened up a new tap room, so we're going to hear about that a little bit. But before we get started in the interview, I want to point you to some of our different social media platforms. Of course, you can find us on Facebook, because who is not on Facebook, and search for us. We are Craft Beer Nation. You can find us on Instagram at The Craft Beer Nation, and we are on Twitter at Craft B Nation. So be sure to hit us up on those different social media platforms. Follow us. We'll follow you back. Pour that beer in a glass, get comfortable, and come back and listen to hear what Jake has to say about what's going on at Crooked Run.
Thank you, Randy.
What's up, man? How are you tonight?
Good. How you doing?
I have no complaints, man. I'm drinking beer. I'm drinking Prairie Coffee Noir. This is their bourbon barrel, oak whiskey barrels. It's stout aged in oak whiskey barrels with coffee. So life could be worse.
Sweet, man.
So are you drinking?
Yeah, I got this Almanac beer. It's Farmers Reserve Citrus, which I like. But so like I love sour beer wuss. Like the really, really, really sour beers, like I can't really handle. And I bought this because my friend said it was good, and I like. Nothing against Almanac, but their beers are super sour. So it's a little hard to drink, but I'm enjoying it slowly.
Cool. Well, joining me tonight is my co-pilot of sorts is Gil Mello. Gil is on the road, actually in Iowa, but the fact that he's in Iowa, he's probably drinking some good beer, because there's a little brewery in Iowa, you may have heard of them, called Toppling Goliath.
Yeah, and I'm having their Soda Sioux double dry hop today, and I think is hazy and beautiful.
Sweet,
man. And he's drinking it out of hotel proper glassware. Show him that proper glassware, you know.
Oh, okay. You guys know I never forget my glasses, right? I drag glasses around the country for 40 states, and I forgot this time. So it's still it proves the beer is just as good because it's still tasting awesome.
We won't.
I have to say, different from Jake. The sour, the better for me. I like that thing that makes your face like
Gil
surgery
hates,
to get it back.
Gil hates the enamel.
If I can feel tooth enamel going away, then it's too much for me.
I was just about to say Gil hates the enamel on his teeth, so he likes to try to scrub that thing off. So anyway, yeah. Jake, let's go ahead and get this party started, man. This is how I start all the interviews. I want to know about your love affair with not so much beer, but specifically craft beer. How did you fall in love with this liquid that we all love so much?
Sure, man. So when I was in college, I was 19, and I got my friend's ID, and his name was Christopher Lee Haynes, and he was the same height and hair color and eye color as me, but he was really fat, and we would use it to buy different beer every week. And it was funny because like half the time the cashier would be like, "Wow, man, you lost a lot of weight." And I'd say, "Thank you." And I would try it. Back then I was buying supermarket beer. And actually I had a pretty good bottle shop near my apartment, but I would just try something new every week. And, that was like 2008, 2009. And none of my friends are into craft beer at all. So it was like, something that really only I liked. I had no one to talk to it. And, I kind of worked my way through different stuff and started homebrewing at the same time and just kind of got more and more into it.
So it started out just by well, hold on real quick. First, I want to point out that Jake is the co-owner and head brewer. I think earlier I said owner, but he's a co-owner and head brewer. Just want to clarify that real quick. So it started out with fake IDs, weight loss, pseudo weight loss. Gil drinking pseudo Sue. You had pseudo weight loss, and you just kind of in home brewing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I love that story, because that's typically how most of the people who we speak with, they get into it because of home brewing. very few people didn't get into it because of homebrewing, right? They had some type of they got bit by the bug, and then they kind of decided that that's what they wanted to do with their career, with their lives. So how did you go from being a lover of fake ID bought beer to how did Crooked Run come about?
Sure. Well, so like I got a homebrew kit for my birthday when I was 21, and I really like to cook, and I made beer, and I wanted to give it a shot. And I never thought I would get that into it, but over the years I just got more and more into it. And then the real big thing for me is like I love Belgian beer, and I wanted more of it, but I couldn't afford it in college. So I really wanted to be able to brew like a good Abbey style beer. And once I was able to do that, I was super happy because, just even making 5 gallons, you bottle all of it. And that's a lot of, good kind of higher ABV beer you're going to drink pretty slowly. So yeah, I just I never expected I would really get that into it, but like most hobbies, if you stick with something, in a couple of years, you'll be decent at it.
So who's the other owner of Crooked Run with you?
Oh, that's Lee. So I'm not sure. I think you met him. So me and him, he's 30, I'm 29, and we were 25 and 26, but he's been with me the whole time. And he had a full-time job as a project manager for a big. When we opened a new place, he's finally able to quit that, which was really great for him and great for the business.
So you guys just opened up a tap room, but before that, you guys were I think you described it earlier, and you were a nano brewery, right?
Yeah.
So how big was that the original spot?
Oh, it was 3 barrel.
Okay.
So pretty small, but it wasn't just that. It was the space was just tiny. It's 600 square feet.
Okay. So go ahead, Gil.
I was just about to ask him, like, it seems to me that the VA is a great place to start a brewery right now. It seems that Virginia it's become like a place to go. And is that like, do you feel a lot of support from legislation and people around?
Before you answer that, Jake, I want to say that, Gil, I was just going to go there because when Jake, what he was drinking, he's drinking out of an ocelot glass, right? So, and those guys are, they're really close to you. Like, I don't know, 5 minutes away, maybe?
Yeah, they're about. Yeah, they're just down the road.
So, to Gil's question, how you feel about not just craft beer in Virginia, but I would say Northern Virginia, because Northern Virginia is really making a name for itself, right? So, what are your thoughts on the Northern Virginia craft beer scene and where it can go?
Yeah, well, so Virginia is a great place to open a brewery, or just to do business in general. Our government gets pretty good marks. It's pretty smooth, and we've had pretty friendly laws, starting with the SB 604 back in 2012 that made it so you could sell on-premise pints, and that's really what started this. And if you look at every state that's had a good beer boom, that has been the catalyst, at least in the recent craft beer boom. And Northern Virginia, like, we have some really great breweries here. Sometimes I feel like, compared to the rest of the state, a lot of people are more focused on Richmond and what's coming out of there, but we have some really great beer here, no doubt. And this is just the beginning. I think more breweries coming, but the breweries are here as they mature. People get it, different breweries are getting the sour programs now, and people are getting their own canning lines, their own bottling lines. They don't rely on mobile anymore. And it's a really great scene. And especially when the metro starts coming out here, I think it's going to be pretty cool, because that'll drink and then head back without having to worry about driving. And that's going to be great.
Yeah,
I think so too. I think that there will be like a push for neighborhood breweries on the next couple of years. I think, with the caveat that the breweries make good beer, I think a lot of breweries are not going to grow as fast as we saw in the last couple of years. I think it's going to be a big growth for neighborhood or local supported, kind of brewery, and I think this is actually pretty good for this hobby and this business overall.
It's great for beer drinkers, and because like since every brewery would love to just be able to get as much money from their tap room as possible, way more control over your beer in your tap room, and you're going to always make sure that your beer is fresh and it's not past its date. And that's the way I think most beer styles are best fresh. So if it turns from these big regional breweries to just like good breweries in every little town, that's great for beer drinkers. I mean, you always get your IPA fresh, and you always have a connection to where you're getting your beer from. So I'm all for it.
The big brewery model, it's been proven that works, and it's also been proven that the small hometown community model works, but you just have to go back to see that there's actually a successful model that works in that way. You can make a living. You can, as the owner supporting your community, you can make a living doing that and be relatively comfortable, right? You don't have to. Crooked Run may not have aspirations to be, Sierra Nevada or Boston Beer Company. I mean, but you don't have to do that to be successful. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, in my opinion, is the coolest thing about this, right? Is because of taproom sales and because of can sales at breweries now, you have beers that are being made that nobody could make before. You see sours and a lot of like double dry hop hazy IPAs that just would never ever have been possible with the production brewery with that as a model of wider distribution. Not just because of the logistics and the shelf life and everything, but I mean the cost. That's something I love as co-owner and brewer. Nobody's telling me what I can't spend money on. I mean, we have a lot of beers that cost us a lot of money to make, but I'm fine with that. And I think honestly, like it's everybody's prerogative whether they want to do that. But like, yeah, you could make more money if you just did, lighter beers. But then you won't get people excited about your beer.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, it's very penny wise, pound foolish, because you're just going to lose people's interest for, short-term profit. And what we do is going to be that, type of beer where if we distributed it, we would barely break even. But as long as we have decent taproom sales, we can kind of do those beers, and they're fun. It's like allowing a chef to like just make whatever they want instead of having to adhere to really, really strict budget.
Right.
So that's my favorite part about it.
Well, let me ask you this. Sorry, Gil. Go ahead.
No, I just think that he touched on something that is very important. That sometimes a lot of people that drink beer don't realize, like, live beers and the hazy beers and stuff like that, they work right now because of scale. I think a Sierra Nevada scale, and you get those beers sitting on a shelf for a month or two, it's a detriment to that style of beer. Those beers are meant to drink like off the line, and you grab in the brewery and drink on the first couple weeks, even maybe a month. But after that, those beers lose a little bit what's good about them, right? And I think that's an important thing you said there. This beautiful hazy beer or those light beers we're seeing right now, they're great because scale is not that large yet. I think it's going to be pretty hard for making those on scale.
They don't have to sit they don't have to wait to be canned and then go to a distributor and sit in the warehouse and then be distributed out. And then, and then somebody's, holding them in a hot environment. You don't have to worry about that. You can sell it straight to the consumer from the tap. And I think that's an important, a lot of people hate on the New England style, but the New England style is almost tailored perfectly, especially Jake, for a smaller brewery like yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can essentially brew a smaller batch and you can sell all of it before that beer even thinks about falling off. So,
Yeah,
and Jake, yours is called Divergent Force. Is that what it's
Verdant
called?
Force. Yeah, that's our
Verdant
North.
Force.
And so I wish I had this beer right now, but dude, we have this we have a sour hazy IPA with raspberries, and it's like one of the coolest looking beers that I've made. It's like bright, fluffy pink looking, like it looks like a Dole popsicle basically, and it tastes like one too.
Is it on right now?
It's on tap right now at the tap room. We sold a crazy amount of it last weekend. It was just like I never dreamed that sour beer, but we rolled through almost a full batch of it in one weekend.
You think it'll be on Saturday? I'm just
and
asking for a friend.
I'm sorry. So we do really limited cans because we hand can everything, but like we've canned our double IPA. The next is going to be the sour IPA. It was next Wednesday. And yeah, I mean, if canning is more successful, we may think about doing a little mobile canning, or actually maybe, we have some friends that we might split a canning line with, but now it's just kind of more of a fun thing at the tap room.
Okay, so Jake, I've been to your spot. I can attest that you're not just an IPA brewery. I mean, you got some other stuff on tap for sure. Some really fun stuff on tap, I'll add. Especially as a nano brewery, the fact that you're so small allows you to do so many different things. That being said, what is your identity as a brewery? Like, you got some guys, like you got the tree houses they make no bones about who they are, right? They are a straight up, New England IPA type brewery. You got even Prairie. Prairie makes, I mean, you might as well call them, their stout game is on lock, right? So what's your identity? Who do you want Crooked Run to be known for or known as?
So because my background is home brewing and because brewing background was nano brewing, I've done 50 million different recipes. And so the identity thing is really hard to say. And I'm not trying to say it arrogant, but like we want our identity to just be known for like everything we do is good. We do a really wide range of styles. And that's feedback I've gotten in the tap room is like, we have 12 different beers on tap at a time. We always have some type of sour, a couple of Belgian beers, some type of Imperial stout, a couple different IPAs, usually double IPA of some type. But I want to be able to, I want to do a wide range of things. I want anybody that comes into that tap room to find something that, like, no matter what kind of beer drinker they are. Like, we just put this is going to be one of our core beers, but we just put a Vienna lager on tap to go with Mexican food. It's called Creur Torcida, which means crooked run in Spanish. And that was the first lager we did on the new system, and it turned out great. And like it's not going to be the beer that gets good on tap reviews and gets people all excited, but it's a really solid lager. Being able to offer a variety of beers like that, where like, we run from like black triple in white wine barrels, and then we have an Imperial stout with chocolate and cinnamon, English bitter, like really classic 4% bitter. So I just want to be able to do a little bit of everything.
So Jake, you and I met because Richard from Aslan introduced us to each other. Aslan on the show before, and I asked him the same question, like what do they want their identity to be? Obviously, well, I wouldn't say obviously because it's not obvious to everybody, but they've been kind of forced into the New England IPA type of direction just because that's what people want right now. But I think that your intention is the same as what their intention was, whereas we don't want to be known as a particular kind of brewery. We just want to make good beer.
Yeah.
That's how you sound, because I mean, you, like you said, you got flavored triples, you got Berliners on, you got, stouts, you got IPAs. You have a a spectrum what you have on tap, and I think that's fun. I think that the craft beer fan, the true craft beer fan, appreciates that, because I know that I can come to Crooked Run, and I can get anything that I want, essentially, right? I can at least I can get a flight of 4 completely different beers. I think the craft beer community appreciates that.
I appreciate that, man. That's what I'm going for, and I like. So these double IPA top selling beer, and that's all I ever get asked by people.
Wait, which one?
The Verdant Force, the
Okay.
double IPA. That's like what everybody wants, their top selling beer. But I'm sure it would make a lot of people happy if we did more of those styles of beers and had it on tap a little more reliably. And I'm working on that. But at the same time, like there's a lot of people that, like different kinds of beer. I know that sounds really obvious, but like not everybody that comes in, not everybody that comes in is going to want something like that. I mean, me personally, like I actually like a lot of lighter beers. But you have some breweries that are what I call like a real beer geek style brewery, which is you only do IPAs, Imperial stouts, sours, and Saisons, and that's it. And there's a lot of breweries that do that, and they do really well doing that. But I think it's nice to have like 1 or 2 session beers on tap as well. Beers, so I'll usually have one of those too. But
it's an adventure too, right? Because craft beer is kind of a paradox right now, because it's a crowded business, but it's a small business at the same time. I mean, it's not a big comparing to beer production. Craft is still very small, so you got to cater for more than just a handful of people or a majority of people. You have to have beers for everybody, right? That's kind of the cool thing about it on craft beer, that you can actually drink what you like. I find it hard when you meet people that they think there's only one style and one thing it's good. It's not very helpful, I guess.
right,
Yeah.
and like I don't know, one thing that I don't really like is neckbeard crowd now that's just like New England IPA or Dream Pour, and that is the end all be all style for them, and that's it.
Yeah.
And to the point where they can't even recognize a good one. Like I've seen people trading beers, and they're getting like solid trades for 3-month-old IPAs from some breweries, and it's just like like a lot of people. Like, I mean, you can talk to these styles of beers, and they'll all tell you they have some beer they really love that gets no love at all. And that's okay, because at the end of the day, you get to decide what you want to make. It is tough for some breweries that are so dependent on can sales that you do get kind of forced into making certain styles that sell well. But I like to. I mean, we have the Saison on tap right now. That's just like a really classic Saison made with the DuPont strain and dry hop with a Hallertau Blanc, and it's not selling well. But like, I think it's one of the best beers we made. But no one really notices it.
Jake, I think that there's something to be said about the mature craft beer drinker. You got some people who are going to want to come and drink the biggest beer that you have, and then drink the second biggest beer, then the third biggest beer, then go back to the first biggest beer. All they want is big beer. And I think that the mature craft beer drinker is going to come in. Like if my first time coming in a Crooked Run, if you have let's say you have a lager on, that's the first beer I'm going to order, because I mean if it's my first time there, I know a Pilsner or just like a even a Kolsch or maybe even a cream ale. Like that's a cleaner type beer, and I want to assess who you are by drinking these beers that give you fewer things to hide behind, right? And the fact that you like to have, the fact that you do have some, a lot of sessionable offerings, I think that eventually, that caters toward the mature craft beer drinker, because now, like when I go to a bar, I'm not just trying to drink the double IPA and the Imperial stout and whatever. I'm trying to last. I'm trying to drink all day. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly. So don't get me wrong. Like we only keep 1 or 2 session beers out of 12 on tap. Most of them are some type of flavor bomb and usually pretty high ABV one way or another. Because that is what people want.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll have people. The other thing that we do too is like we do a lot of stuff that's like not really to style, but weird either. Like I don't like doing something that's unique just to be unique. It has to taste good. And so like example, we do a lot of adjunct beers, right? And a lot of times I'm really happy that people are more into that now, because like, you know, 4 years for a long time, as if you did a beer with fruit, people, especially guys, would just be like, no, I don't want any of that shit. Like absolutely not. And I actually think like there's a lot of, I could point to a lot of beers from bigger breweries that kind of open the door for that, like Grapefruit Sculpin or like Anderson Valley Goza, like for sours, that got people like acclimated to these types of beers. But now that people are kind of into like weirder beers, like we do a sour IPA with different types of fruit. We have a triple IPA with pineapple coming out in like 2 weeks called Noriega, which I'm pretty excited about. Black Belgian triple. We do that one fairly regularly. And we do a red Kolsch, which is like a light amber ale made with Kolsch yeast, like stuff that isn't really off the wall, but is not exactly the style.
Nothing wrong with that, because what is style? What is style? I don't know.
The great thing about craft beer is experimentation, right? The moment that the craft beer start experimenting and trying to change and make different stuff, it's just gonna become just beer. I don't want to just drink beer. I want to drink amazing stuff, and that's something that this industry is doing really well.
You know, I went to 2 3 weeks ago, something like that. I went to Dogfish Head for their weekend of compelling ales, and I never really how much, I don't want to say Sam hates the Reinheitsgebot, but he kind of hates the Reinheitsgebot, right? Because he's like, you know, if you follow Dogfish Head, they brew things that are crazy, and they're fearless about it. And I love that, because the American approach to craft beer has always been, what's this thing? Pish posh. You know what I mean? And then they brew some crazy fun stuff, and that's what I love. I love the fact that, you know, you brew with a lot of adjuncts, because I kind of throws caution to the wind, and you brewing what you like, what you think tastes good, what the people think tastes good, and that's what it's about. It doesn't have to adhere to, you know, water, you know, barley, hops, water, and yeast. It's not all about that. It's about making a liquid that people can coalesce around and having and sharing experience with. And if you're relegating yourself to just these 4 ingredients, then you're kind of missing the point of what craft beer is. That's what I say.
Yeah, man. And so I find, like, you know, when I was homebrewing, and especially when I was in a Belgian beer, like a lot of people would obsess over little details, like, does this brewery use this type of hops or whatever? The real spirit of Belgian brewing was always just to use whatever you had available, which is how those styles developed anyways. But like, I'm all for experimentation, but I definitely draw the line at some stuff. I mean, saw like a beer with Lucky Charms the other day, and I was like, no, I'm never gonna do anything like that.
There's one with Captain Crunch I saw, with Crunch Berries.
Yeah. I mean, we'll do some kind of weirder beers, and more like we'll do some beers that get a little weird, but nothing that goes to that point. And the bottom line too is, like, you can get as weird as you want. It just has to taste good. But that's what's tough about this is like, I've had some from some breweries that, like, you think, no, this is a good brewery that made this, so what happened? And a lot of times it's like, well, like you don't know how that flavor is going to change on a shelf. Like we know what happens to barley and hops and other, more traditional ingredients like fruit with extended aging, but with other weird stuff, like you never know how it's going to go, and it can just end up being pretty wretched at some point. So I like to keep. I'm sorry.
We have to be conscious that just because it's craft beer doesn't mean that everything is good, right? There's a lot of bad experimentation, bad beer that is craft beer. Sometimes I talk to people like and say, "Oh, this craft brewery," and I go there and the whole line is just not exciting or just don't taste good at all. So I have to be very conscious that craft beer is not synonym for good beer, right? Good beer is good beer.
Gil, I think that's the fun part, right? I mean, craft beer says that this might be bad, but I'm gonna still try it because
but you have to recognize it's bad,
good.
Right?
Yeah, you have to recognize.
But you have to recognize. I think
don't brew it again.
Problem is what about the brewer because consumers just because it's craft, let it go a lot of stuff, and we need to be sometimes say, yeah, that didn't work well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the weirdest beer that I had was called it was a beet beer, and it's called Urethra Franklin.
Oh my goodness.
It was weird.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay.
But funny name. Yeah, but I don't know, like I kind of started doing those styles just because I want to make something that you wouldn't be able to find on store shelves typically. And again, as long as it tastes good. I mean, you can add as strains as you want. I mean, we do this line of chili IPAs. It's like a West Coast IPA with like it's always a different type of fruit and different type of chili pepper, but they're not everybody's thing, but they had a lot more widespread appeal than I thought. And the feedback has always been like, well, this is pretty good. It's not too spicy. As long as it's not super, super hot, then people are okay with it. But people are a lot more open-minded now, and it's fun to bring that kind of cooking element to beers too.
I agree. Jake, I tell you what. So there's before we take off, there's CBC is coming up in DC next week. I don't know. Are you going to be pouring at any things in DC this week, or are you going to just be enjoying it, living it up?
Yeah, I've actually never even been before because running the Nano, like
me neither.
Yourself. So like I'm going to be attending. We kind of just because we just opened, we missed the boat on all that stuff. But next year we definitely will be. But I'll be in attendance for sure.
Okay, I'm going to try to make a couple events. It's kind of hard because I got kids and it's during the week, but I'm going to try to make a couple events. But aside from CBC, are you guys going to be pouring at any festivals or anything coming up here in the next few months?
Let me think about that. Yeah, we have a couple festivals, a couple local ones. Like, I think a lot of breweries are doing this, but we're selective about which ones we're doing just because, like, we really don't have that wide distribution and we don't have enough beer to sell to people anyways. So, which is kind of cool. But there's definitely a couple we'll be doing. And especially one thing that we always try to do is like any other brewery on a festival, we will always make it to that. But, there's a lot of them where it's just like, hey, come pour beer, make us some money, and you'll get exposure. And it's like, no, I don't really need it that badly. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
So,
yeah, the festival is definitely kind of blown up a little too much, but
I feel you. Can you speak a little bit about this beer that you're canning on the 15th? I think it's a Wednesday. On the 15th. I don't know what day it is, but what beer is it?
Yeah, it's a
Saturday, right?
Yeah. It's the first bottle release at the new place. We were at World Beer Cup last year. It's an Imperial Hibiscus Saison. So it's pretty tart, dry, and bright pink. 10% Saison made with DuPont strain and dry hop with Hallertau Blanc. And it's like a really deadly beer. Like it drinks like a 5% beer, and it's dangerous. And that's going to be our bottle release. We'll also bring in a couple guest beers. And then, hopefully the weather's good and everything, but I'm excited just because first one at the new place. And then also like, we're going to be doing these bomber releases like every 2 months of our higher ABV beers. But it's cool because like it's one of the few like high ABV warm weather beers outside of IPA, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so like,
yeah.
I'm kind of excited for it.
How real quick? How big is your brew house at the new spot?
It's just 10 barrels.
Okay,
so we've been
just
cranking
10
it
barrels.
out.
Come on, man.
Well, 10 barrels is enough fermenters. You can go a long way with 10 barrels, actually, right?
It's just 10 barrels.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I mean, and we're ordering 2 more. We'll start getting more beer out there, but and it's for sure a step up over what we had before. But like it is, a lot of people think it's big, but I tell people when I'm giving tours, it's like this is like a third of the size of most breweries around here. But so
there you go. That's what's important. As long as you're happy doing what you do, man.
for sure.
So, Jake, hopefully I'll see you around town a couple nights next week. There's a lot of really, really cool events going on for CBC. A lot of dope breweries are going to be in town. There's one event that I want to go to, but I'm not going to say it on air because I don't want anybody else to go to it. It's a small spot. It's a small spot. It's a small spot, and I don't want to contribute to the crowd outside of myself. So we'll talk about it off air. But nonetheless, Jake.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so
and
much.
You'll be at Savor too, right?
Yeah. Are you gonna be at Savor?
I don't know. I don't know. You
can come as an attendee, right?
Yeah. I actually never been. And it's sad. I mean, 3 or 4 years, I really have had like no life, but now, we have enough beer and enough capacities. So we got a taproom manager for the new place. So like that freed up a lot of my time and so I can get out more. So yeah, I'll definitely go.
There you go. Well, we'll see you at Savor then.
Cool, man. Well, thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot for your time, Jake. Huh? I'm sorry, I thought you were saying something. We don't have a show next week. We're probably going to record an episode of Pint Session, so be on the lookout for that. And then the following week, we're still on the local kick. At least for me, on the 20th, we're gonna have Zach Mott. I hope I said Zach's last name right. It's either Mott or Mote, M-O-T-E, from Waters and Brewery here in Woodbridge, Virginia. They're over in Lake Ridge, so we're gonna have them on in 2 weeks. So until then, ladies and gentlemen, remember, find some great friends, find some great beer. Those P's and Q's. Cheers.
Cheers. Drink more beer.
With an empty glass. Drink more local beer.
Amen.